Everyone, thank you so much for being here today. I'm Maddy Martin, the VP of Marketing at Smith.ai, and we're going to be talking about MyCase and Smith.ai, the integration, how to run a better law firm, how to win and work more clients with the two solutions, Smith.ai and MyCase. I've with me here today is my co-host, Alycia Hernandez. Alycia, can you say a few words about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Alycia. I am a product manager here at MyCase, and I'm over the partnerships. So I work with Maddy and other partners to make sure that we can do integrations with them in a really cohesive manner.
Awesome. Well, Alycia, your whole team was amazing to work with, and thank you so much for helping us coordinate that whole effort. That really is going to be the foundation of our talk today. If you're not already familiar with Smith.ai, we are a 24/7 receptionist service. We handle calls, chats, texts, Facebook messages for solo and small business owners, primarily law firms in the US and in Canada. So we have a lot of mutual interest among our clients between MyCase and Smith.ai. And if you're just learning about our solutions for the first time, we'll go through some basics today, and then we'll also go into a deep dive of specific MyCase and Smith.ai use cases, not just covering the call log integration, but also how calendaring can be shared across the two solutions, how intake can be a process that's shared across the two solutions, and covering any questions that you have about implementation and best practices. So I will now share my screen, and just to cover the agenda quickly, we'll go through the essential features of practice management software that drive effectiveness and efficiency in your firm's work. We will also highlight, some best practices. This is Alycia's section, and she's going to be talking about things to really be mindful of when running and growing your law firm and improving your work with clients and your productivity in that work. Then I'll talk about virtual receptionist services, maximizing your outcomes of your marketing efforts and the quality of those leads who are coming through or becoming those clients that you end up working in MyCase. So, typically in these webinars, I'll first talk about sort of the marketing funnel top-down marketing and then answering, and then the practice management, but we're sort of flipping that on its head for today's session to say, we really want to have the focal point be practice management, and then how Smith.ai and your call answering and responsiveness and intake goes into that will be secondary. So we know what's the system we're putting all of this into, and why do we want to be really efficient users of powerful software like MyCase, and how can Smith.ai help you do that more effectively? Now, throughout, we will talk about the impact of outsourcing and automation being critical to win and work new clients, and then how Smith.ai and MyCase really operate together with special discounts for you, whether you are a new or existing user of Smith.ai or of MyCase. So, Alycia, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and you can go ahead and share yours, which should be available to you.
Yes. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. So before I start, Alycia is in the chat helping me go ahead and field questions. So if you guys would like and you have questions, put it in Q&A so that way she can go through and kind of help you through those. And we're going to try and get through as many as we can.
Alycia, just before we get started, there is a quick poll that we wanted to take, if you don't mind. Just tell us, are you an existing MyCase user? Are you a Smith.ai user? You don't use either service, both, you're an industry professional just learning more about the two solutions, or maybe you're a marketing agency or reseller and you work closely with law firm as your clients, and you're interested to learn more about how our two solutions work together in practice management in general. Awesome. So we'll leave that poll up for another minute. We've got about 70% of people who've answered. So thank you so much for taking a moment to do that. Wonderful. All right, I'm going to end it in 5 seconds. So get your answers in. Okay, fantastic. Let's close that out. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. It looks like we have a really good distribution of folks from every angle. So thank you. And without further ado, Alycia, please go ahead.
Sure. So first, before I talk about how you can use MyCase to work efficiently and effectively, what I wanted to do is just tell you a little bit about practice management, or, what is law practice management software and why it's important. So the main purpose of practice management software is to help you streamline your legal practice. You no longer have to maintain multiple filing cabinets of sensitive data and case information. And an LPMS provides a secure place to store all of your legal documents, contacts, and billing virtually so that you can access this information from any location. And that's what we provide at MyCase. So Capterra and GetUp have ranked MyCase as the #1 legal practice management software because we help firms increase the efficiency and effectiveness in their day-to-day workload. I'm sure everyone here is very familiar with this journey. You take it every day, and it's important to keep business going. So we'll touch on some of our potential client/lead features that are going to help you get clients, and then we'll later talk about how Smith.ai enhances this process. And so you're going to notice that I'm using client and lead, lead and potential client interchangeably. We'll also talk about a few case management features that can drastically improve your case management experience. And then last, we'll talk about the billing process and how you can streamline that so you can get paid faster. So during the presentation, I'm going to use examples to help walk you through some of these features and how they can benefit you. So getting clients is a critical piece for any firm to maintain and grow your business. It's important to have lead management tools to track new leads so that your firms can provide a great client experience. Maybe you have potential clients dropping by your firm, they call your office number, or maybe they reach out via your website. Whatever method they choose, it's important to understand how you handle each scenario. I don't have time to cover all of our intake features, but I will touch on call logs, contact us, and e-signing. So the MyCase call log can be used to track calls of existing clients, leads, and anything in between. It allows you to easily have all calls in one central location while helping you determine the priority and which calls you still need to follow up on. It's great for notifying other firm members of missed calls, seeing all the calls for a specific case, and tracking billable time. This can all be done within the call log tab. So let's say in this scenario, I practice family law and I have a virtual receptionist, wink, wink, who takes the calls from potential clients. They provide me with the call log detailing who called, how long it lasted, and then at the end of the day, part of my routine is to go through that call log and see which of those are potential clients and which are not. I can add any tasks to follow up on, modify which firm members the call is for, or maybe I want to delete the call because I realized it was just a sales call. If I just got off the phone with a client, then I can also add time logs here and add an entry of billable hours. But call logs isn't the only place that you can collect data. You can also do this on a contact us form. So if my firm has a website and I add the MyCase contact us form for potential leads, they can reach out and ask questions, and then this would go back to MyCase, and it would go into our online leads tab so that me or a fellow member of my firm can review and approve it. And that approval process happens so that we can separate out what could and could not be a lead, and it allows us to keep control of that data. So once someone from the firm has approved, that data transfers to the lead tab. And we'll talk more in detail later about this, but both the call log and the contact us features can be leveraged by Smith.ai. Let's say that I have a potential new client who is going through the divorce process, and they have already completed consultation, and during intake, I provide them with a fee agreement. The fee agreement is something that I can have that can be sent securely and signed in MyCase. So I can update the document to have whatever kind of wording, because maybe I need to change it. I'll then download that to MyCase, either as a Word doc or a PDF. And then I'll go ahead and add all of those fields for initials, dates, or maybe a merge field, which just means that it's data that's populated outside of MyCase or inside of MyCase. And I can drag all of those fields onto my doc. Once it's ready, I send it to the customer via the client portal, where they can sign with a finger or a mouse, which allows them to sign at any place at any time that's convenient for them. I can have peace of mind knowing that they're all encrypted, stored, and sent securely. And our signatures are designed in compliance with the eSign Act. And each document has metadata for each signature appended to the signed document to track who did what and when. The best part is this is all included in our subscription, so you won't have to pay for a third-party solution. When a lead completes the intake process, they get converted to a client, which is obviously no surprise to any of you, and the case management work really begins. Your day gets filled with document management and client communication, and it's really important to automate where you can so that you can focus on spending more time on billable work. And so we found that these two features help increase that efficiency. So I'm going to go through automating tasks and two-way text messaging. So workflow automation allows you to create reusable templates that include common tasks, event deadlines, and document templates that can automatically be applied to a case. So using family law as an example again, let's say I have a case that I have multiple cases that pertain to both divorce and child custody. And I know that each of these case types have certain tasks or deadlines that I need to do without fail every single time. So I can go through workflow automation feature and create a workflow for the divorce process first by adding any of the related tasks that I do, set any necessary due dates by using the due date calculation, and then adding any calendar dates that I want to automatically appear on my calendar when I do use the divorce process workflow. I can then go in and create a separate one for all my child custody cases with different steps, calculations, and document templates. Once I've created my template, I can apply them to any of the cases that match either of those workflows. And if you have a case that doesn't need all of the steps that you put on your workflow, you can simply remove them for that specific case. So it really is a great time saver to help decrease redundancy and administrative work. Two-way text messaging. So in terms of client communication, sometimes the best way to communicate with a client is via text, and so that way you can get a fast response. So we have a built-in text messaging feature that assigns each firm a unique phone number where they'll be able to receive text messages. It allows both you and your firm members to see the conversations going on with all the different cases. And you can send a message through your computer while you're working in the office, or you can use the mobile app if you're working from home, or if you need to look while you're out and about. All text message conversations are automatically associated with the contact or case that they pertain to, and it's free. So again, no additional charge for the service, and a great way to have that additional way to keep track of your client communication. Now that we've talked a little bit about the leads features and the case management features, I'm going to talk about billing, which I know can be a very stressful process, especially if you're not diligent with tracking your billable hours. We aim to make that less stressful by placing things like automated reminders, timers, pre-populating your invoices with billable hours, and payment plans into our software. I was actually listening to a previous webinar from earlier this year where one of the attorneys mentioned that billing through Excel spreadsheet took her 2 hours to do. And when she switched over to MyCase, her invoicing process changed so that she was able to do that same stuff within minutes. And then she would talk to the client about billing, and that's same day that she talked to the client about the bill, she was actually able to send the bill, and then she received the payment the next day after. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what some of those key things are that really helped her save all of that time. If you're diligent about adding your billable hours to your case, or you use our timer to help you keep track of what you're working on, you can actually have those billable hours show up in your invoice that you create. So let's say you create your first invoice for a case and it automatically populates with all of the time that you've tracked in MyCase. The next time you do an invoice for that same case, it will automatically populate with all of the data since you've last posted an invoice, which really helps so that you don't have to remember if you charged for something on your last invoice or not. Our system keeps track of that for you. Another feature we have lets you send automated invoice reminders to clients so that they can receive a reminder 30 days and 5 days before the due date of an invoice, as well as 5 days after the due date if it hasn't already if they haven't already paid for it. So you can actually see that right here, and you'd just be able to click enable. If you choose to do an online payment, you can determine if you want that money deposited to either your trust or your operating account. Again, really just trying to help you minimize the amount of manual work and follow-up that you're going to have to do. And last, let's talk about payment plans. So not every client is able to pay off an invoice right away. And if I had a client in a divorce case and the client said that they could only afford to do $500 monthly, I can enter that amount into the payment plan section, choose to do monthly from the repeat section down here, and it would automatically calculate the number of installments. So both the payment plans and our regular invoices have automatic reconciliation to provide you with consistency and accuracy. To summarize, features like workflows, e-signatures, and call logs can help you increase efficiency by organizing and automating common tasks, which allows you to focus on what's billable. Our customers have seen a 20% increase in billable hours. Features like automated reminders, payment plans, and time tracking have increased collections by 46%. And last, I just want to share a quote that we received from one of our customers this year that stated, from 2019 to 2021, I have grown my caseload more than 150%. And I think that's a really great testament to what is possible with MyCase. I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Maddy now so she can talk through the sales funnel.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Alycia. Great work. I'm just going to move into my slides. So, I mean, the main thing here is to, really go back to the beginning. Now that we know how you're going to work these cases, these clients, move potential leads into your lead workflows, which we'll talk more about. Where are these leads coming from? If you are investing your time in a solution that is going to keep your data, keep you well organized, keep your staff on track and focused on the most important work to get done, and to keep your firm really like a well-oiled machine, it's not a great idea to start throwing in water with the oil, like bad leads into your system who are not well qualified, or people who are not getting properly screened before those calls and those consultations start coming in. So that's really where Smith.ai starts to focus with law firms to say, like, can we just zoom out a little bit and think about the lead quality? Think about the questions and how we're crafting our intake forms, how we're crafting that early client experience so that those initial calls are answered. They go well. The lead feels like they have found their firm match who understands their matter or the issue potentially at hand. So let's just talk about the funnel, and we'll get back to the actual lead and the cases and going back into MyCase But we're going to, have a bit of a bird's eye view for a second, just to zoom back out. So when we think about the marketing funnel, we've got, initial website visitors. There are some callers who are not going to be qualified. There are some people who ping you on Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or wherever you are, wherever your firm is marketing and, communicating with the world. And some of those are going to be really qualified leads. And then some of them are going to complete intake. They're going to have a consultation. They're going to sign the fee agreement. They're going to pass the conflict check, and they're going to become a retained client. And then you're going to work them extremely efficiently with a solution like MyCase. But before we get there, there are so many hurdles often in the way of the small law firm. And to be honest, there are so many firms that are not doing this well that this is such a competitive advantage if you can just make a few simple changes to how your communications currently function and how you are sort of prioritizing responsiveness and how that sets you up for a really great client experience where you're setting the stage for a great engagement, where the leads say early on, I understand what this firm does. I know the boundaries here. I know what I'm going to pay. I understand that they take credit cards, for example, and that's one of my motivating factors for choosing this firm over another. Like, what can you share up front that might even be enabled for your firm through MyCase that will facilitate a better marketing funnel, better sales funnel. So just a few things that we see right off the bat. Responsiveness is the single biggest driver in new client growth. So people don't wait for you to respond to a voicemail. And in fact, when there are calls back to voicemails, it's really hard to get back in touch. So your chance of connecting dramatically decreases with every second, every minute that you wait to get back in touch with a lead. The consumers, whether it's a B2B or B2C law firm that you're operating, the consumer, that person, whether they're operating a business or they're just an individual, they expect an immediate response to a sales or support inquiry. That means when they reach out, they expect a live person to respond, or at least an immediate response. It might even be a chat bot, but it's recognition and acknowledgement that they're in the right place, that the business is alive and functioning, and that they're not taking a break when that new lead is saying, I'm raising my hand, I need your services, I think. Now, part of the problem is that there is a ton of noise. And spam is on the rise, vendor calls are on the rise, a ton of marketing leads don't convert because we sort of get numb to the noise that's coming through and, not so jumping out of our seats when the phone rings. Now, if you are jumping out of your seat, that also means there's an opportunity cost to the work that you were doing at that time that got interrupted. So you've got interruptions. And then is that unknown number spam? Hopefully not, but often that is the case. A potential lead, and then are they a qualified lead? There are so many, 68% of leads consulted with a firm that they didn't hire. What that means is there's an onus on the firm to do better screening and to set expectations up front. And there's also a lot of people who are going to be contacting you that are not necessarily even worth your time for a consultation, even if they're willing to pay for it. You're not in the business of paid consultations. You're in the business of law. So your time is not maximized by just filling them up with consultations, no matter how lucrative those consultations may or may not be. So really, before we even get into like the answering solutions, we really have to think about the first problem to solve. And often firms will say, there were a few questions even in chat around what's the best website platform, or what's the best, marketing agency, or should I do paid search, or should I invest in SEO? Where should I spend my marketing dollars? And I've talked to a lot of marketing agencies about this, and they will often say, don't spend a dime unless you have figured out how you're going to capture the leads who are coming through. And what is your conversion rate from the new leads who are coming to a consultation that shows they're a qualified lead with a completed intake form? Do they actually end up hiring the firm? So the first problem to solve is not marketing. It's not putting more like, water into the bucket when you have leaks potentially in that bucket, right? So the marketing cost of acquisition, so the cost of getting a new client, is something that we really encourage all of our firms, everyone who's in the Smith.ai community, to look at first and foremost before you make any investments into a new marketing channel. Are you doing as much as you can with what you already have? So you probably have referrals, you have some organic search traffic, you might have listings on different marketplaces or websites that are outside of your own firm website, social media, etc. If you just take a simple number like 1,000 visitors and an expected conversion of 80 leads, of which half are qualified opportunities, they're in the right place, they are seeking help in the right practice area, they have the ability to pay, their timing aligns with your timing to serve them. You have a consultation and you retain, let's say, 10 clients out of the 1,000 visitors for $2,000 each. You're making $20,000. Let's say you spent $5,000 to bring those 1,000 visitors to the site. All right, clearly this is a well operating enterprise, not including overhead, et cetera, which you do have control to handle, especially with virtual offices. Now, where are the leaks? If you don't have responsiveness across all the channels where people are reaching out to you, that is the single biggest leak. We see 67%, so about 2/3 of potential clients saying that they pick a firm to hire based on the initial responsiveness of that firm, which means if you give the best consultation, if you are an incredible salesperson, but you have voicemails that you have to call back, you never get to deliver that incredible consultation because they're not even going to connect with you. So that is a point of leverage that you may have when we talk about the other features and elements here that are at play. You have to make sure that your phone system works and is to your benefit. You have to make sure that you're responsive to every single potential lead and that you're doing an effective job screening so that when they get into that consultation, when they are in your lead workflow, in MyCase, you have confidence that your conversion rates from that point on are going to be fairly standardized because that pool that's coming in is screened the same way every time. They are greeted and they are handled the same way every time so that you have a known pool with similar characteristics instead of a catch-all of every website visitor who just fills out your contact form and you're not quite sure and it requires a lot of manual work to sort of go through and evaluate them once they're already sort of in your database. So there is, and we will share this slide deck with you, a sort of blank table here for you to fill out yourself to think, what do my numbers really look like and where are the gaps that exist? Where am I losing leads and opportunities? Am I not converting my consultations at a high enough rate? If only 30% of your consultations are ending up becoming clients, then that would be a fairly low percentage. And I would look at that and say maybe there's some sales training and there's other things that you could control. So knowing your funnel is absolutely critical and then plugging the biggest holes first. But it's also really important that we look at responsiveness and say, this is really a way to also increase our bottom line and to retain clients and to get more referrals. So I already mentioned that 2 out of 3 clients base their decision to hire on a firm's initial responsiveness, but also think about, what does it mean for customer service? What does it mean for client experience? 2 out of 3 clients who receive excellent service spend up to 14% more. Not only that, how much easier is it to get new clients if they're from a referral instead of through very expensive pay-per-click, very expensive commercials and marketing and bus ads and mailers and all those other things that take up a lot of money and also bandwidth to get the marketing copyright, all of that stuff. So think about your investment in the experience is an investment in your future business because clients who have a great experience will not only spend more, they will also refer more. So without further ado, let's get back to some basics. And I'm going to tell you some best practices here for communications If you're not already, making an audit regularly of your phone system, that is my number one recommendation, to make sure that that responsiveness actually can get through. If you've moved to a virtual office, you're working from home, or your workplace has shifted in the last year or two, this is something you want to really pay close attention to. There is latency, there is quality loss and lag in phone calls, and honestly, the VoIP providers don't all operate the same way. So if you have Google Voice or if you have Ring Central, you're not necessarily getting the exact same quality of service. So you do need to check, are my phone calls routing properly? Are they going, through? Are they quality? Can I hear the person on the other end, and can they hear me? And then in terms of latency, are my phone calls ringing, let's say 5, 6, 7 times before I at the firm even hear the phone ring? That's a huge problem, because at that point they're hanging up because they don't think anyone's going to answer. So we actually do have a link, and again, you'll be provided with this slide deck to not only get crystal clear phone service, but also how to send a message to your phone service provider with an email template that says, I've found that the quality is not what it needs to be, or maybe it's something you're already experiencing, and I need you to resolve this. And if they don't, there are a ton of other providers out there that you can go with. So consider also the availability that you have. Are you setting up call flows so that there is someone on call if you're a personal injury firm, or if you are in a firm that needs to operate 24/7? You may have said a few years ago, I don't really need to operate 24/7, but now that people are at home, their hours are a lot more fluid. They're taking care of children, elderly parents, multi-generation households. You better believe that 25% of inbound leads now are coming in after hours. So it is not just the personal injury firms and the criminal defense attorneys that are getting calls, collect calls from jail. These are regular folks who are contacting an attorney at 9 o'clock at night when the kids go to sleep, because that's the first break they've had all day. So it doesn't need to be a 2 a.m. emergency call, but it's still a quality lead. So consider the factors and say, how is your team, going to be responsive? And do you need supplemental help through a service like Smith.ai, or at least for after hours or overflow if someone's already on the phone? Now, one of the precautions that I will share is that oftentimes the follow-up is lacking. And this is something where we can also work with a list that you might have in your workflow in MyCase, where there are a bunch of people who haven't yet signed the fee agreement, or who haven't scheduled that consultation that did complete an intake form, and you might need to call them back. And there are a lot of people who will make that first initial call. They'll have that sense of urgency. There's a bit of momentum there. And then maybe they say, I need to talk to my spouse or my business partner, and things sort of falter a little bit. You don't know where you stand. Are they going to convert? Why haven't they gotten back in touch with me? You really need to attempt an outbound call at least 6 times to have confidence that they are going to move forward or not, to have that confidence that you can stop, not after the first call or second call, but you have so much more to gain. Look, the second call is only 70% confidence that they have actually decided and they're not getting back to you for a reason. 93% confidence after 6 calls. You can mix email, you can mix text. If they sent you a Facebook message, contact them in that way, but do not assume that just because the ball is in their court and they're not calling you back, that the deal is dead or done. You have to take the onus on yourself. And that is a lot of work. And that's something that Smith.ai does for our clients as well. Now, this is not something I'm going to go over because we don't have time, but I've included here some call forwarding best practices. Sometimes we find that clients of Smith.ai or potential clients will say, for some reason, my call forwarding is not working extremely effectively. I have call tracking from CallRail. I have, my phone's forwarding after, for only 10 seconds. There are some things here that really do make sure that your calls are being forwarded properly so that Smith.ai or another answering service has the opportunity to respond with enough time, and that the quality is strong and there aren't a lot of rings or delays or latency. You want to make sure that you also have Smith.ai in the right place in your phone system. So if you have an attendant or a menu where it says press 1 for new clients and 2 for existing clients, if you only want Smith.ai to answer for new clients, you have to put us into that phone tree the right way. So just something to consider, nothing that we're going to cover right this moment. It's a little, too nitty-gritty to get into, but I wanted to provide that as a resource to you. Now, how do we reduce noise and streamline the pipeline? Well, we think about what does it take to actually bring in a new client? It's about the channel, who's actually responding, and is it a phone, an email, a text, a website chat, a TikTok message, a Twitter DM? There's so many ways that people can get in contact with your firm. And then the question is what's the protocol? Do you have assignments in your firm? Is it just you and the onus is on you to check every channel all the time? That's not really humanly possible, but that might be, how you started, and you get to a point where there's enough volume and what used to work doesn't work so well. Who is responding for you? And does it have to be you, the owner operator, or can it be, someone else at your disposal? Now, if leads are qualified, are they good leads or are they bad leads? We'll talk about that. And using an intake form effectively really can help you determine, are they quality leads or not? And then what are you doing about referrals? So for those leads that are not good quality, do you have referral partners who you can also share with your receptionist service to say, if you're in family law and they have a personal injury issue, we recommend this PI firm because we don't touch that practice area. Fine, share that with your frontline team because then you don't have to deal with that noise. Maybe you still have to send an automated email that says we're not your firm, but at least you have that initial touch point. So you're not getting contacted again and again by that lead who is still seeking services. You'll also find that those are people who write positive reviews on Google, even if you didn't serve them, because that's a really great service to help someone out with a recommendation. So there's a little bit of follow-up. There might be email drips. You might be saying, how am I getting back in touch with this person and how long do I wait? That's going to depend. Is it personal injury matter is going to be rapid follow-up until you finally hear from someone. If it's estate planning or B2B trademark, you're probably going to give them a little bit more breathing room because it's not necessarily an urgent matter and you want to be mindful of pace. So let's talk intake forms, because earlier Alycia mentioned the contact us form, and that's something that Smith.ai uses for our MyCase using clients to complete that and add a potential lead into your MyCase instance. So let's say that you have figured out your phone system. Great, that's step 1. Step 2 is really crafting your ideal intake form. And if you didn't already know it, there's actually a lot you can do with your contact form that is well worthwhile to customize. And if you're just saying name, email, phone, and then submit, or a big blank, text box that says, tell us your life story, or, what can we help you with today, which is basically the equivalent, you're not really getting structured data that helps you make a good decision and helps your receptionist screen for, whether or not they move forward to a consultation, referral, or, leaving for in-house follow-up or evaluation later. So when we get a form like this, you'll see a few things here, like what county is the case in, what's the name of the opposing party, what other attorneys are involved if that information is available, is there a court date already scheduled? Let's say it's criminal defense. I would, sort of suggest that you would also ask when the court date is, if there is one, so you can get down to those details, because do you have a court date and it's tomorrow is problematic, and you would want to know what the date is, even if it's in the future. But that date stamp really does make a big difference in how you're going to follow up and how soon. Now, the answers on, to this question may end up resulting in a conflict check, because you've got the name of the opposing party, an immediate sort of decline if the firm's policy is, if the court date is tomorrow, it's just not going to happen. Sorry. Maybe there's a firm you recommend that can do things rapidly. A paid consultation or a free consultation offer if they're really well qualified. And then, there's also edge cases where there's no action needed. The firm needs to evaluate on a case-by-case basis. But either way, customizing your contact form will be highly effective in getting leads with the right qualities identified early on, so that then you can take the next steps to determine, do you even want that to be a lead, in my case, that goes through your workflow? Now, calendaring is the natural next step. When you've identified that the lead is qualified, then you want to make sure that they're on the calendar, that there's no callback required. Oh, I want to schedule your appointment. Why not do it just on that same phone call after you've asked those questions and you have their attention right in that moment, and you don't have to chase them back down? So MyCase links with, whatever platform you're using, Google or Outlook, et cetera. And so do third-party, very cheap or free calendaring solutions like Calendly, like Acuity, like any of those $5, $10, maybe $20 a month solutions. For all the bells and whistles. Let's say you use Schedule once, you can even have someone select 3 times and have booking with approval, and you can pick the one time that works for you if you don't want to give just total control over to your leads or to the receptionist service. Now, the huge benefit here is not just having the, elimination of the callback and the chase and the phone tag, but you can also use this for existing clients. So put it in your email signature with a tool like WiseStamp. Add Doodle so that you can schedule group calls or mediations or things like that, and have that as part of your workflow. But with third-party tools, you can share the link to your calendar without sharing access or giving users the ability to control your calendar, which is really key. You can only add appointments when there's availability and options to book, not just when someone feels like moving things around your calendar. So there's a lot of safety baked in here that I will encourage you to explore these tools, and then make sure that MyCase can see into your Google Calendar, Outlook calendar, so those appointments that are booked will be able to be visible to you. Now, one of the last things here, as we talk about sort of lead screening before the call actually even happens, having chat on your website, and chat's not really the focus of this topic for today, but it's relevant because there are a lot of leads who actually prefer to chat in rather than call in, because they cannot verbalize, they can't vocalize what the matter is and be overheard. So let's say there's someone who has a family issue and they're trying to contact a divorce attorney or for child custody matter. They don't want to be overheard talking to a law firm in their own household when they can't seem to get out. And this happens very often. Chat, text, Facebook messages are silent, private ways, typically done with a cell phone. Any device can obviously access the website, access Facebook, and get that conversation started. It's also very effective in screening out people who just have basic questions. They want to pay a bill, there's some FAQ, and they don't actually interrupt the firm or incur a cost with the receptionist service, where you're paying per call and you're like, can we just answer the basics online on chat and save those calls for those who really need to have a conversation or who can have a conversation. The silence of chat, the discreet nature of it, and the efficiency in really handling the basics very well and consistently is something that we see not as many firms take advantage of as they should. So there are a few things here. Again, I don't have a ton of time to get into this, but some recommendations on what to address, what to streamline, in the next 30 to 60 days. How do you use like the Eisenhower decision matrix to power, what are you delegating? What are you doing yourself? What are you streamlining? So take a look at that and see what are the things that you could start tackling as the lowest hanging fruit now, based on those gaps that might exist in your funnel. So without further ado, we're going to talk, both Alycia and I are going to talk about how the integration actually works. It's quite simple, actually. Really, you just need to request your MyCase Smith.ai app approval URL by emailing support@Smith.ai. And then you'll get that URL. And when you click it, you'll be prompted to log into MyCase. And that basically authorizes all of your calls to go into your call log, and you will see the data that you're used to seeing with your call summary, in MyCase itself. Now you'll see that it is coming through the Smith.ai integration. You'll see who the call was for and the caller's name and number. You will also see the type as incoming or outgoing, and then the disposition, the client status, or an existing client or a new client, new potential client. Priority, is it normal, urgent, or low? So, high priority would be the court staff is calling, or your client saying they're going to be late to court, or sending up the bat signal in some way or another. The duration, and then the actual call summary notes from the receptionist. There are a few other features that Alycia is going to go over as well, so that you can take actions with that call log itself.
Yes. So when it comes to the rest of this piece of the call log, right, it's important to understand that when Smith.ai takes a call, they go ahead and send that over, but the call will be marked as unresolved until you come in and you take action and you say, okay, now I've looked at this, I've seen the priority, and I do have action items that I need to take on this. So once you mark it resolved, you're just done with it, and you don't have to take a look anymore at that one. You'll notice they'll all just be marked green when you've done that. And so really you're only looking for the ones that are unresolved at that point in time. Here you can see, some of the information that is about duration. So if you have Smith reaching out to your customers and you wanted to add billable time, because you see here that they have duration and it's already an existing customer, you could do something like that where you're going ahead and adding a time entry. You can add tasks. So let's say maybe I need Mike to bring some additional information to his court hearing. I can go ahead and add a task to remind that as well. Editing the call log generally happens if maybe you need to add some additional information for someone else in your staff that maybe they aren't keyed in on what exactly is happening with this specific case or this specific client. But in general, it would be really good to have a manual of sorts or some kind of process that you go through or that you understand for your different types of calls. And then last, is just the delete, which really, again, is if you have maybe a personal call you don't want in your log because it's a personal call or, again, a sales call, there's no reason to keep those in your firm's call log. So,
yeah, and I will say, like, if you find yourself deleting calls, you should tell Smith.ai so we can actually take those out of your, incoming calls, the calls that are, not blocked but should be blocked. We can block numbers for you. We can also pass through numbers for you if your mom always calls and she doesn't need to talk to the receptionist, fine. If there's someone who's bothering you, a vendor who keeps, annoying you, then you can say, like, if I'm deleting this from my call log, I should probably tell Smith.ai to block that number and to not be charged for that call, is of value to you. And then it's definitely not going to be in your call log. So again, with contact forms, if we complete that contact form for you, and you can just share the link to your contact form, that might be on your website, it might be customized just for, Smith.ai, and you might not have it on your website. Either way, we can complete that. Some instructions around, when to complete it during the call is helpful, but we'll work with you on that. And then you'll see when that form is completed, a potential lead who you can actually approve to be a lead or not, at which case they'll be added to your lead workflow. Alycia, did you want to say anything else about this workflow?
Yeah, so what's really cool about this is just like an example workflow, right? The idea here is that we're giving you the freedom, and we know that every law firm has a different process. So you can go ahead and edit each of these different columns. And if you click on an individual for a lead, for example, all of that information that was taken up upon intake will be in that contact potential case information sheet, right? And you can go ahead, and as Susie goes through and I take her all the way up to waiting to retainer, I can just do a quick click and drag and drop to each of those different sections.
Nice and super fast, no data entry chore, like all of that information is added with the details that you've collected from that contact form. So again, the more robust you make the contact form, the easier it is to just drag and drop them without having to add a ton of supplemental information. So let's talk about getting started with MyCase and Smith.ai if you're not already using both of our solutions. Alycia, do you want to chat a little bit about how they could get started?
Yeah, so one of our core values and the reason that we're continuing to grow and innovate so quickly is that first and foremost, we listen to our customers. And in turn, our customers help us help them to succeed in running and growing their business. So we pride ourselves on having happy customers that consistently and enthusiastically recommend MyCase as their all-in-one complete and easy practice management solution. You can go to the next slide. So our pricing is generally $49 per month when billed monthly, and this is an all-inclusive price. And so you get all of the features that I talked about earlier today and so much more at no additional cost. We also offer a wide range of discounts. So once you start your free trial, you'll be able to call in and a MyCase representative can walk you through the options if you do decide to purchase. And then last, if you're wondering, how you start a trial, just visit mycase.com, click on the start free trial button and get started. Or you can go ahead and contact the sales team at the email or phone number that we have listed right here. And there's no credit card required for that. So feel free to create an account and just see if it is the right fit for your firm.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alycia. I know that we don't have a ton of time, so I'll go pretty quickly. So Smith.ai, again, as I mentioned, 24/7 receptionist service, much more than an answering service. So we offer plans from $210 a month, starting at 30 calls, and that includes one free CRM integration. And that CRM integration here would be MyCase, right? So that integration is totally free for you. Also included is the free spam blocking, sales blocking, anything, a number that you do not want that we can predict, we will block for you. And the plans go way beyond actually $750 a month. If you're a larger firm, we can handle over 150 calls a month. We handle thousands of calls for certain firms, but these are the most common that we see in the solo and small firm area that we most commonly serve. You will pay per call, not per minute again. So that's much more predictable with month-to-month plans that can change as your firm grows and shifts and changes. The really great thing is that we don't prescribe any plans with all the features that you don't necessarily need to take advantage of. So if we are booking appointments for you, you only will pay for that add-on. If we're completing intake forms for you, we will charge you for just that add-on. Now, we often see that appointments and intake forms go hand in hand. If you need to add more integrations, you have, let's say, another system that you need us to connect into. All of these things are a small incremental cost per month that you can add or take away as you need to, so that we are only doing what you need us to do that is most valuable to you. Now, we are 24/7, 365 bilingual, and we have a dedicated Spanish line if you want someone who is bilingual to answer every single time. Occasionally, with our regular service, you might get someone who's only English speaking and they need to transfer to a Spanish speaking receptionist or make a call back. So if that happens, and if you need someone to always be bilingual, that's when you would pay for that line. Now, we work with every single phone system. We can certainly recommend phone systems if you have problems with your existing one, as I mentioned earlier. And we work with every type of website if you choose us for chat as well. We offer a 14-day risk-free money-back guarantee, and we will help you with your setup. So it's not like the onus is on you to figure out, well, how do I want my calls answered? Of course, we have best practices and we can guide you through that so that we are in alignment with your business goals, with your budget as we close out this year and then ramp up for a really fantastic next year. So we have a great offer for both new clients and existing clients of Smith.ai. We're giving $200 off your first month, which makes it $10 a month, which is incredible if you're just at the 30 call plan. And MyCase 15 is the code for $15 a month off if you're an existing client. So when you add the integration, not only is that free for you, but you also have an additional discount, whether you're a new or existing client. So you can visit Smith.ai. You will see prominently on our website a book a consultation banner, and you can schedule a consultation with us as soon as today. You can call us and hear how we sound. You can email us at hello@smith.ai. You can check us out all around the web, and you'll see that we are very highly rated, and it is in large part due to the integrations and the product focus that we have for our clients to make sure that we are serving them well. There is also here, if you view the slides, a link. I will copy that link and I will put it in the chat. So you have access to the ebook, if I can spell ebook, there we go. And that's a free resource for you with steps to run a more productive business and some law firm corollaries as well. And just to close out, I think Alycia, we were talking earlier about how far reaching the impacts are, way beyond just efficient, well-organized practice management and lead flow and intake. Like, of course, we're talking about winning and working more clients, but imagine if you and your staff don't have to do as much data entry or chasing leads or listening to voicemails and wondering, when am I going to get back to this person? Or how am I going to handle all of the noise that comes through every day? You have better staff retention. You have better productivity. You have people who feel really connected to your firm because they're doing meaningful work and not just chores and sort of drudge work throughout the day. Like, this is a really great way to build a business and a brand that is, really mindful of how you're spending your time, how your staff is spending their time. And it's a really strong foundation to build upon. Alycia, did you want to say anything else about that?
Really just that, between Smith and MyCase, having this integration really does allow that one central location for you to be able to track all those call logs, to get those leads, and make sure that you're not hopping between different types of software in order to get all of that information.
Absolutely. So we received a lot of feedback already on this integration, and awesome for everyone who already has this enabled. And we really want to continue to hear from you. What more would you like us to do? Please send us your requests. Alycia and my email is here. If you have specific requests for our support teams, obviously support@smith.ai. There's support, for MyCase as well. And as we're just closing out here today, I wanted to also offer the opportunity to have one of our teams reach out to you if you'd like to learn more. So I'm just going to launch a quick poll. If you could respond, if you'd like to learn more about Smith.ai, about MyCase, about both, then we will reach out to you from our companies and say, like, how can we help you come up with a customized plan that best aligns with your budget, with your goals, with your firm practice areas, so you get really a tailored and targeted approach that is only focused on really what will give you immediate value and the low-hanging fruit, so that we're not just saying, like, on some of these calls, it's easy to say, here's all the 30 things that you can do. Think with the solo small firm, with the mindset of today, with COVID just in the last year or two, we are really focused on what are the things that I can do to secure a strong foundation, to secure consistent, reliable growth and productivity. Like, those are the areas that we'll really focus on with you. So it's much more of a consultation. It's much more of a, sort of business advice session. And then if we are the right fit, either MyCase or Smith.ai or both of us, we will make recommendations about what that will mean, what it may cost for your firm, keeping in mind that the greatest cost is what's not being done right now. And these are not necessarily, or really at all, cost centers, but they are savings to you in the long run. They are value adds to you, helping you win and work more clients. So I'll end that poll right now. We will follow up with you promptly. And just a big, great thank you for being here. Alycia, all of the attendees, We are very excited to get back to you. Also, if we didn't get to your questions, we're at the top of the hour, so just want to be respectful of your time. And you will hear from us if you asked a question in chat or in Q&A or on the poll indicating that you'd like to learn more.
Yes, and thank you, Maddy, for running such a great presentation.
Absolutely. All right, wonderful. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye now.